Hi, welcome to the Don't Step on the Crack cast. Originally, in the SE25 cast, edit number 1 for podcast number 8, we had Rock the Casbah by The Clash, the origin of the Wan-Bissaka. The wingers don't like it, Wan-Bissaka, Wan-Bissaka. However, that has been outlawed by one of our mods who is acting in the best interest of everybody on the sub by not having a DMCA request against us. So instead, I've decided to tune up my ukulele and perform the song for you. You think I'm going to sing for you? Anyway, it's the fucking episode.
That mentality is sort of just spread, so every time a Northern Irish person starts supporting a team, they commit.
And I guess there's nothing else to do in Northern Ireland, is there? So.
Jensen, we love it over here. Alright, so we're alright. This is episode 8.
Yes, it is.
Also, I'll ask you to introduce yourselves. Go D-Stock.
Isn't it D-Stock rather than D-Stock? Doesn't the T come after the 0?
Yes, but I pronounce it D-Stock. Fuck you, Jensen. Right, so we ready?
Yeah.
Let me bring up my questions. Hello, and welcome back to the SE25 cast. Today I'm joined by 3 guests. Would you introduce yourselves, lads?
So I'm Don't Step on the Crack. Podcast saviour is how I'm describing myself from here on out.
I'm Jammer B. I've got a happy Jammer B this week because I've been to Huddersfield and yeah, good game.
And I'm Jensen, back with a better mic this time.
Yes, and talking of Huddersfield, it was a good result for what seems like too long. It's nice to get a win under a belt. Of course, it was a 2-0 victory. How do you feel the home team performed, considering that is their team and this was such a crucial game for both sides? We're now 1 point behind Huddersfield because we won.
So I think, for me, I think Huddersfield, they played how we played, not necessarily just under Frank, but in that they looked like a team who hadn't played together very often. And they looked like a team who, they didn't have a lot of cutting edge up front. They didn't have a £30 million anchor dragging them down, but they didn't have someone finishing or looking dangerous or creating. But I think, and I forget what channel I was watching, but whoever of the commentators had turned around and said Huddersfield are aware of the pressure of their next, however many games it is, 6, 7, 8 games left. It looked like they were playing under pressure. It looked like they knew they couldn't afford to lose this game. They weren't adventurous enough, and for me, they weren't good enough. I'd have been pissed off as a Huddersfield fan. And yeah, Jamebi, what time did they start walking out? Because it was very empty towards the end.
Yeah, I was literally just getting ready to say that when I was going to speak as well. Like when we were first there, like, I've been to a few away games this season, and last season went to loads. And the atmosphere when you walked in there, it was intimidating. It was sort of like being at Selhurst in terms of Huddersfield were going absolutely mental. I had the drum right next to us, and they were loud. But you could just see, like, just like imagine just a graph going down. Like that's how it was. Like, and as soon as we scored, it was like, I think they were like, yeah, fair enough. Like that's one, we can get it back, sort of thing. And then yeah, once the second one went in, and yeah, like you said, I remember I took pictures at, but it must have been about 70 minutes or so, and it was actually sad to see how excited they were at the start. It sort of reminded you, like, it wasn't so bad as like the Sunderland game that we had, where it was like half time you just think, what are we doing? Like it was just like it just reminded you of like when we was doing really, really crap, and you just wanted to go home basically. And I think that's what they thought, but weird considering they've done quite well until now, really.
They're falling into the trap. At this time of year, there's always one team in around the relegation fight who started really well, had a reasonable winter, and coming into the end of February, March, and the final stretch, every season there's always one team who suddenly seems to have the gas disappeared from them. Last year it was Middlesbrough. They looked strong, and then in the last 10 games they didn't win anything, or 15 games. Huddersfield remind me a little bit of that at the moment. They don't look like they have any passion going forward. They've had that in the first half of the season, and I just can't see them sustaining any decent success from now until the end of the season.
So yes, we saw the return of players like Wilf, Sacco, and Johan. How do you think their return to the squad helped those that were there while they were out, and just our performance in general?
I thought, obviously, seeing Wilf back was a bonus. But even seeing Sacco back I think is just as important as Wilf coming back as well. Because as much as like I know we've discussed in the earlier pods that you feel like he's a bit shaky sometimes, and you get a bit worried. But like seeing Zaha back up, the points show it. Like when he's not there, we don't get points really. When he's there, we're winning. So it was good to see both of them back, and obviously Johan made a bit of a difference when he came on as well. It's just good to have Wilf back. It was a bit of a scare near the end, but I'm sure we'll come to that later in the pod. But yeah, it was good to see everyone, and even Ruben coming on as well. So yeah,
I'd agree with that completely. I think we've been saved in the last few weeks by the addition of Wan-Bissaka, who kept his place in the team ahead of Fosu-Mensah. And I think, I don't know, please chime in with your views, but I felt that Van Aanholt played really nicely with Wilf. I felt that Wan-Bissaka and Townsend complemented each other, perhaps not quite on the same level, but they really were quite good. And actually just having what we used to have with Soiree and Wilf, or Soiree and Balassi on one side, Wardy and the others, whichever winger on that side at the time, it just gives us that outlet. For me, I don't think I like Cabaye's running. I like Cabaye's work, but for me, having those outlets that outside pitch on the wings is a much bigger improvement than a single player in the middle. Because I think unless it's someone who isn't good enough in the middle and is causing us to lose possession really regularly, what we're looking for in those players on the outside is the ability to be an outlet as a wing back, fullback, or a winger, and that's what we're being given.
And defensively, having Sacco back, as Sacco and Tompkins have played together, I think it's 8 times this season. In those 8 games, they've kept 5 clean sheets, only conceding 4 goals, which obviously over a season is 24 clean sheets, something like that, which is phenomenal. Obviously, that wouldn't happen, but you could see that the two of them made a good pairing. They're very solid at the back, and I was listening rather than watching, but it sounded like Tompkins and Sacco, both of them, were contributing with heading ball after ball away and really solidifying that back line, which obviously helped by the fullbacks. PV on form and a new right back essentially.
And also, I'd say particularly with those two, and I think we've missed it since Dan has been out. Fosu-Mensah was particularly guilty the last few weeks, but he was playing against top class opposition. Tompkins and Sacco did a reasonable job of keeping the ball when the ball was coming out of defence. We weren't just giving it away and it was coming straight back. They were finding by MacArthur, Luca, and that again makes a big difference because it alleviates the pressure for another few seconds.
Absolutely, yeah.
Of course, we've just got off injuries coming back, but we have a new injury in Schlupp. We don't know for how long, and we don't know how serious it is. But due to this injury, we saw the return of Johan, who Jensen idolizes.
Mm-hmm.
It also brought about a formation change from the 4-4-2 with Schlupp out wide to the 4-3-3. How do you feel that change in formation affected the team, affected us, and how useful is it to have that change of formation to change up our style of play whenever needed?
I actually got the hump and stopped watching the game after about 12 to 15 minutes of the first half because our passing was so miserable. We couldn't string passes together. Every time we did get on top of the ball, we'd then give it away again. That first 5 to 7 minutes of us being fluid attacking had just fallen to bits. And after Schlupp went off, I don't think it was Schlupp's fault, but that change in shape, all of a sudden, just with an extra person in the middle, or depending on how you, 2 people to pass to instead of 1, made it for me much better in the second half. I gave us a second viewing, and I had Junior come and find me and be like, "Oh, Dad, they're not doing it anymore. They're actually, they're doing much better." And and he was right. For me, the formation change was bigger than Schlupp being on the pitch, and at this point, I'd like us to perhaps consider that going forward.
I feel bad because I know I was at the game and stuff, but it was only today that I actually realised and found out that he was injured, because I must have just been like, 11, 12 pints in by the time the game started. So it was all news to me that he was injured, even though I was bloody there. So, yeah, I mean, it's sad to see him go off again, seeing as he's not been he's been injured before the season and stuff. But I quite like Schlapp as well. He was one of the candidates for the old back of the shirt. But
Poor guy.
obviously I went with Van Aanholt in the yeah. So we're speaking about it. My sister asked me to on the train back. So what are you thinking about next season then? I'm like, I was thinking maybe Sorloth, because he's sort of out there.
Don't ruin
we'll
Zorloff like that.
Yeah, I don't want to. That's what I mean. I don't want to make him the next Chan Young Lee.
Talking of injury problems, obviously Zorloff didn't play. That was unexpected.
Yeah.
Do we know the seriousness of it, or what the injury is?
Just general fatigue and calf strain, so it shouldn't be too long till he's back.
That's a relatively minor one, which compared to our recent injuries is a relief, certainly. It is a good substitution to make, to be able to make. Obviously, if we hadn't had Cabaye back from injury, it's a very different scenario, but we're in a position where we could make that, and that is a huge improvement where we are only 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Cause bringing on Chan Young Lee at that point would have. I mean, fuck me. Can you imagine how many times he'd have given the ball away, or how many goals he'd have helped set up for Huddersfield?
Wait,
how many wings he'd have been given?
Here comes Jamie to defend Chung Young Lee.
Yeah, yeah, leave my boy alone.
Someone brought it up earlier with the mention of a new right back with another acronym type name, AWB, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. How well has he done, considering he's a winger converted right back?
And it's also worth noting, in his first 3 games, he's faced Harry Kane, Dele Alli, and then Eden Hazard and Sanchez and whoever Man United had. For those, that's a baptism of fire in the Premier League. I mean, you don't get much better than that. Very tough first 3 games, and Huddersfield was a little bit easier, and he still came out on top. It's a huge credit. He's a clear, proper talent.
Yeah, he's really confident as well. I was speaking to someone today about it as well, and he just seems so confident, considering he's just coming into obviously our first team and the Premier League in general, I guess. And it just, yeah, and obviously he's got I know we were speaking about it before the pod, like he's even got a little song within a couple of games for us, and we're already singing like quite a good song for him. So I think you hope that it's only looking up for him, but knowing our luck, he'll probably get injured next game, and then that'll be the end of him, but hopefully not. You want to see him stick around, and even though we was joking about it earlier, maybe even be able to sell him at one point if you need to fund some other players. And yeah, hopefully he carries it on.
If he plays well through to the end of the season, I think he's starting right back. Timmy's going back. Joel Ward is...
Leaving.
Ward.
He's also out of contract, isn't he?
He is, but
I
I still think he'll sign a contract. I really do. I think he probably wants to see what options he gets. If you're a player in the last season of your contract, you'd be stupid to sign a contract with 6 months to go, or even 9 months to go. You just see what you get, because Palace aren't really going to lower their offer to you, and you might get some stunning offer from someone else. And good luck to him. Maybe go back to Pompey and play in League One. But yeah, Joel Ward's been a terrific servant to the club. He deserves a lot from us. But at this point, we've got a player who's equal, if not he's better, and he's going to have to earn his way back if he wants to come back.
Do we want to mention the yellow card from Wan-Bissaka? Because I'm trying to remember what actually happened. I know it says he tripped someone, but I don't know if you guys saw it a bit clearer than me, because obviously this all goes so fast when you're watching it. But did it seem like he was a bit of a loose cannon when he done the challenge?
It was a tackle he needed to make.
Yeah, he needed to make it, and it was a case of it was just late, because he still got a good amount of the ball through the player's legs. It's just a case of it was a tackle he needed to make, and he made it. The yellow card is a fine thing to take for that.
Fair enough. Yeah.
One thing that hasn't happened a lot since the Pardew days is scoring from a corner. Something that we've managed to do again for the first time in what seems like a while, with Tompkins scoring from the corner. Good goal, good corner, but his first shot was straight at the keeper. So do you think that could have been a bit of an issue?
It wasn't great defending, was it?
No, I didn't think the corner was very good either. If that goal's gone in against Palace, we're raging that goal's gone in.
Yeah, it's true. Me and my sister have always said this as well. Like, I always joke to her, like, when we get a corner, I was like, we might as well just kick, like, you might as well just get it from the corner flag and just kick it out for a goal kick, because I'm pretty sure we haven't even scored from a corner this season at all.
We scored the winner against Stoke. Was that from a corner?
Yeah, I think wasn't it a Tompkins goal again, something like months ago?
It was, well, like, it's definitely been a while, because I always just get disappointed when we get a corner. Usually, I think most teams are probably like, yes, corner, we've got a chance here. It's like, I don't know, I don't think we've really got a chance at all. But I think it's good that we've scored from the corner, even if it was, like Neo put it, like, I watched the replay a couple of hours ago before the pod, just to, obviously, seeing it in real life is a bit different, but he did basically tap it straight to the keeper, which was a bit crap if he didn't score that. Considering all he really needs to do is put it a couple of inches to the right or whatever. But I guess in the heat of the moment, he was quite good to actually get the initiative to actually get to the ball in the first place. So, I mean, he put it away.
It's also worth mentioning later in the second half, I think, 70 minutes in, 60 minutes in, he had it off another corner. Tompkins had another effort cleared off the line. So maybe something has changed, and maybe we can get back to what we used to be in terms of scoring from corners. But
yeah, hopefully. It used to be an exciting thing, getting a corner. We used to be so good at them, but
under
we'll see.
Corners were like penalties to us.
Was that not? And not to say it wasn't Pardew, but for me that started in the Pulis era. That started when we started. Our team all grew about a foot, and
it did. But Pardew honed it to such a level where I think, it was something stupid like 40-50% of our goals that season were from set pieces.
I can't imagine a better man to steal someone else's design and try and improve it and claim it as their own.
Of course, before the game, there were shouts about Luca being ill, but of course he still played and he still scored his penalty in what is now typical Luca fashion, absolutely hammering it in. How do you think that desire to play through an illness shows at this late stage where we need all of our best players that we can get?
Well, it shows someone's a captain, and he's definitely finally filled that void, which Jedi left, almost 2 years ago. It's taken a while to fill it, but he's finally doing it. And it makes a huge difference having somebody with that command and that determination.
Yeah, he's a likable character. He just seems to be passionate about it as well. And I don't really think I think he'd made a couple of silly passes that game, because I remember people getting a bit like annoyed, but at the same time, it's like he's overall, it is just like enough Jedi, basically. It's really, and that penalty, I don't know if it was just because we were a bit oblivious, but he seemed to take it so fast as well. Because just remember, like, I tried to record some of the celebration on my phone, and my phone went flying. Like, I think someone hit it out of my hands and just went flying into the row in front, and I was just like, "What the hell's going on?" Like, we just all the video is just me going, "Ah!" and then the phone just flying. So, it was brilliant. Like, when that Tompkins goal went in, obviously everyone was. I remember even seeing the replay, and it was wild, like crazy celebrations. And then when the Luca one went in, I think we sort of knew that we're actually gonna win this game, like. And for some reason, I was always confident about that game. I wish I put money on it, because the only other time I've ever been confident that we win a game is when we beat Chelsea. And I just got, like, me, my sister and my dad's put a tenner on it. So even putting a tenner on that one would have returned 26 quid, but it's free money in it, basically. So.
Well, once we were 2-0 up, I was a lot more confident that we had Sacco and Tompkins at the back. I mean, no offence to Kelly, who's been, I defend him more than most on the sub, but with Sacco, it's a huge difference that you feel we're not going to throw away a 2-goal lead. You just can't see it.
There's two players I want to talk about now who, one has been getting a bit of stick for recent performances. The other has just been in electric form recently. First is Maka, James MacArthur, how do you feel his performance was during that game? And then, of course, Patrick Van Aanholt, who's been on inspired form recently and is making a serious case for being permanent left back right now.
He's making more than a serious case. I mean, who would we start ahead of him? Schlupp hasn't on PVA. Certainly, he is the starting left back. I can't think of anybody who deserves that place more than him now. And he's been fantastic. He's shown the defensive minus. He made a couple of great interceptions on Saturday, and he bombed forward down the wing, providing an attacking threat, which is what Joel Ward is not so good at.
Yeah, obviously, I'm glad that he's doing well as well. But it did take him a while to get started, though. I know it's not like he was ever crap, but I know people were in sort of mixed opinions about him at the start of the season. But it seems like he's on just a slope up, really, which is a good thing for any player for us. So hopefully he keeps it up, and like we don't want him to get doomed to get injured and then go. I don't want to curse the team, but it's usually what happens. But yeah, I'm hoping it stays like this. With James MacArthur, yeah, I don't know, he had a bit of a rocky couple of games, like a few games ago. And I know people are sort of even getting on the fence about him, but he seemed to. I just couldn't fault him for the performance he put in on Saturday as much as I'm trying to remember. But yeah, I don't remember ever thinking he's terrible or whatever on Saturday. And even the past couple of games, he always just seemed like that player who's everywhere somehow. He's just always everywhere.
Definitely one we'd want to keep,
yeah,
because even if he's not a starter, he's a phenomenal squad player to have. And there are rumours on Twitter today that he wants to go back up to Rangers. Apparently, that would be a decision of the heart rather than anything else. But if we can keep him this summer, if we can give him a new contract, 100% do it, because he's been excellent as a starter, but also off the bench. If we do end up with this guy from Lille, then a phenomenal squad player.
Last thing is I want to talk about the penalty. Was it a pen or not? And is Luca the best penalty taker we've had in however long?
I thought it was a penalty, to be fair. But he was on the other side, but to me it just looked like he got completely taken out. And I did watch the replay and still thought it was a penalty. Someone was saying that Benteke had a shout for a penalty as well at one point, but I don't even remember being aware of that.
In the first half, so. It was he went down far too unnaturally. It didn't look. It could have been given as a 50-50 one you'd probably get on another part of the pitch, but it's not one we can really complain about. As for the Townsend penalty, I mean, it pretty much is a penalty. The defender sort of knew it straight away that he messed up. He admitted it. He didn't try and protest to the ref. I think that's as stonewall as it gets, really. I can't think of, unless you just punch someone, I can't really think what more you could do.
With Luca, though, even going back quickly to what I said about him taking it fast, I don't know if it was just me thinking that in real life, but it just seemed like he was just right, put it on the spot, let's go, bang, and then just scored without even really hesitating. I know the Man City one sort of threw him back a bit, but after him scoring multiple penalties before that, I mean, who would you rather, him or Benteke, basically, in it? So, yeah.
Of course, our next game is Liverpool. We actually have a 2-week break thanks to the international break before we move into that game. How do you think that'll help the team prepare for Liverpool?
Well, Benteke's getting a break because he's not getting in the Belgium squad. So I think that's going to actually be an interesting period for Christian Benteke, because the first time in a very long time he's not in the squad. It looks like he's going to miss the World Cup. Yeah, I think if you're Christian here, you go one or two ways. And I appreciate this is a perhaps a more big Chris question than a Palace question. But he either comes out fighting, trying to get his place back for the World Cup, and he's got 10 games to do it, or whatever it might be. And the alternative is he goes on a major sulk and realises that Palace isn't the place for him. And from now until the end of the season, we have an even less useful, massive tree at the front of the pitch than we've had for the last few weeks. And for me, the squad was announced before the weekend. There were plenty of people saying that they thought he did the holding the ball up thing well. For me, this was his worst game in a long time. And I wasn't, if you look at the second goal we scored, the penalty, the only reason that ball goes to Townsend is because Wilf doesn't give it to Benteke, who actually is in a position where you should be giving your number 9 the ball. So yeah, for me, Benteke is the biggest thing here, and then it's looking at who comes back off international duty without an injury. Because Loftus-Cheek, I assume we're going to spend 2 weeks of wrapping him in cotton wool. But anyone else who's going out for international duty needs to be wrapped up. And, maybe we get Roy ringing around telling people, oh, here's the sick note for James MacArthur, here's the sick note for Van Aanholt, because we can't afford anyone to go missing now.
Yeah, I agree with the Benteke comment 100%. Really, I usually like to complain about him when I'm at the game or something, but he was, for me, was pretty much invisible the whole game. Didn't really have a comment on him whatsoever. So, I mean, it's sad to see it, like, because you see him, like, we're scoring like a few goals and he's not. Like, if he was scoring as well, God knows how well he'd be doing as well. It's just annoying because I really, really want him to do well. Obviously, he's a Palace player. You don't want any Palace player to be crap, but you just want him to score, like, just do his job.
He's worked hard.
So.
He deserves the goal. He needs that little bit of luck, and it's just not going his way. And then we now reached a point where, and I don't know why and for what reason, but yeah, on Saturday, playing against two of the weakest centre-backs he's played against in a long while, he showed nothing. I felt he moved well enough, but he moved like a player who was just going through the motion. I was sorely disappointed. And hopefully our Nordic superhero is going to come back very soon. Because I think, Connor's just got 20 minutes in the under-23s. He's not gonna make more than a cameo before the end of the season. Sorloth, hopefully reappears and plays. But yeah, Big Chris is, as far as I'm concerned, I think we bench him. And like I say, hopefully this 2 week holiday for him is a period to get his head straight and come back in form. He's playing against some world-class Belgian strikers to get in that squad. Lukaku, Mickey Batshit. He's not competing against, Fraser Campbell, but it clearly is. Well, I say clearly, it's perhaps isn't clear, but for me, it's a case of I think we need to be ready to offload Christian Benteke in the summer if he decides to turn around and say, your shitty season has cost me a place in the World Cup, because I think there's every chance of him doing that.
Pound for pound, Mohamed Salah could probably be considered the best signing this season. With the amount of goals he's got, bought as a winger, and has managed to outscore pretty much everyone bar Harry Kane. How do we go about stopping him from, doing what he's done to pretty much every team, including City, and that is just scoring for fun?
Aaron Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah, we'll just keep singing the song at him.
Yeah,
and because Rock the Casbah thing against an Egyptian, it's fate that is going to send him wobbly. So
exactly, that's the answer. I mean, in truth, that Liverpool attack, who knows if we are able to stop it or not? I guess we'll just have to allow Benteke to outscore them, right? Potentially.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, I think that the thing with Salah is you hope it's similar to when we've beat Chelsea before and Arsenal and players like that. You hope players like Salah have an off day. You hope that they've got the semi-finals now on the horizon for the FA Cup. They've got they're looking kind of down the road at that. You put up someone like a Momo Sacco or a James Tompkins. Perhaps they're not the Jedinak of old who might kick him up in the air and break him. But I think if you're Klopp, you're probably thinking, yeah, we're best off here keeping him, under wraps for the Palace game. And maybe we'd be playing against Solanke or someone like that. Solanke and Danny Ings would be ideal. They're not going to win the league. It looks as if they're comfortably in a Champions League spot. So, that I think is how we beat Mo Salah, is by hoping he doesn't turn up, or that he's on the bench and comes on for the last 10 minutes when it's 2-1 to Palace.
Of course, the Achilles heel for Liverpool has always been their very fragile defence. And they've now brought in Virgil van Dijk finally to fix this. Has this acquisition actually fixed their defence, or do you still think it's susceptible to being overrun and just pass straight through?
I think I don't know if you guys noticed the stats recently that were out for sprint stats, and it turned out Sorloth was in the top speed, top 10, I think 2 weeks running. So Sorloth is big, but he's not slow. Benteke, they know at Liverpool inside out, back to front. I would hope that Roy, if Sorloth is fit, and obviously I'm assuming now with his injury that we're going to somehow keep him out of their international squad and get him fully ready to go. But yeah, for me, I think the Liverpool defence is leaky. It's not perfect. With Zaha, with Townsend, perhaps with, I'm not going to say Rakip, but perhaps with Luca and Kabaye, we can produce something. I'm assuming Loftus-Cheek is going to play. I can't see that we're going to have Townsend, Zaha, and Loftus-Cheek all on the pitch at the same time with a Sorloth and a Benteke, but it's entirely possible. And I'd love to see us come out, and I think Palace fans generally wouldn't really begrudge Roy having a go at Liverpool, because Liverpool, they're going to score, so we need to get some goals. It's not going to be a 0-0 Tony Pulis point. This is going to be a try and go.
I could easily see this being very similar to the 4-2, which was under Pardew, wasn't it, that one? Whenever it was, 2015, 2016. Very similar to that, where both teams are going at it and both defences are useless. Could easily see that happening again this time around. And we would do a high-scoring game like that, I guess, but that's Selhurst.
That Liverpool team were the best team I've seen at Selhurst. Take away any Cities, take away any Uniteds, Spurs. That Liverpool team that just passed and ran so fluidly were the best team I've seen in ages. And I'd love to come back and watch them, because I do think, like the 4-2, if we can nick 2 or 3 goals against them, you just need a bit of the rub of the green. A couple of theirs not to go in, hit the post. Hennessy have one of his worldy days, and maybe we'll take a point or 3.
We should be able to. I mean, all of our last 7 games are winnable. Obviously not easily winnable, but they are. We can win every single one, and we should just go for every single game from now on. It's just, if we lose Liverpool, so what? It's a top 4 team. It doesn't really matter. So let's just go for it. If we win, great. If not, so what?
And if you have any thoughts or opinions on the lineup and starting formation of the team, Jamie?
I'm trying to think of who I'd swap out for, based on maybe Benteke would be the only one, but obviously it depends on Sorloth. But I mean, it'd be interesting to see how this sort of, after what we were saying about Schlupp after he went off, if we played the same formation against Liverpool, it'd be interesting to see what happens, really. Because it seemed to be going all right.
Are you playing Sorloth or Loftus-Cheek up front, place of Benteke? Playing a false 9 Loftus-Cheek?
I'd say, if Sorloth is back, then I'd love to give him a go, especially if he's going to go central, because I think Roy's even made a comment about he's obviously been playing, but most of the games have been kind of out of position for Sorloth anyway. So it'd be nice to just be like, look, you're a centre forward, play centre forward. You've got this game, just see how you go. It's one of them games that we can probably afford to, we can definitely afford to lose this game if it comes to it. So maybe even just see it as a little test for him if that's the way we want to go, and see what happens.
Yeah, I can see that. Playing against Dejan Lovren is definitely breaking him in gently as well. Maybe not Van Dijk, but go and rough up Dejan Lovren and see what happens.
Any predictions for the final result, Jensen?
I'm going to go 4-2 again to Liverpool. I can just see it.
I'm going 5-4 Palace.
Wow. I'll go. Let's say 3-2 Palace. You've got to be a bit
So
confident.
it's
after that
definitely
game.
going to be a 0-0
There's
now, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd take a 0-0.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Anything but like losing 1-0 at the bloody 88th minute to a Hennessy
Yeah.
mistake
Coming
or
on to
something. Yeah. Yeah, that would be bad.
We haven't really insulted Hennessy yet this pod, which is probably testament to the fact that he didn't do anything wrong yesterday.
He
First
didn't really
time.
have a chance.
No.
Yeah, I was looking at the statistics of that. It's saying that Huddersfield had only 2 shots actually on goal the whole game, so it's just pretty. And they had 3 shots off goal and 2 shots on goal, according to this. So that's pretty. And apparently, we had 6 shots on goal and 5 shots off goal.
We were
Which is
definitely the better team.
Yeah, for sure.
It was the first game in a while where we actually looked like a team that was in no trouble of going down and should be in the mid-table. And I
Yep.
think the way we've played against United and Spurs, we look like that as well. But to not come away with the result is it makes those results much harder to feel like you're a mid-table team. You do feel like you're a team on the way down.
We're getting 0 points when we could have got 5 from those 3 games is frustrating, but the way we played, given we had 13 injuries, was it, for the Spurs game? You can't complain too much of that. If we'd lost yesterday, that would have been a different story, but clearly we are a mid-table team. I just can't see us going down from here on out.
Sorry, mate, go on.
This pod would have been very different if we had lost yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
I think I bore the pants off everyone listening reasonably often, and occasionally even more so when I talk about the Big Sam respect the point. You'll stay up with 38 points. If you take that United game and you take that Huddersfield game and the Spurs game, and you look at it as we got 3 points out of those 3 games, that's fine for keeping us up. So, but it does rely on you winning the games you can win.
I mean, if we do go down, I look forward to your analysis on the too good to go down prospect.
Mate, my analysis would, it's half written and verbalised already, because a lot of our team that we talk about in glowing terms isn't good enough or is on the cusp of not being good enough. Similar to, I bring it up so fucking often, the football being a weak link sport. And we have to upgrade the weak links, not upgrade the strong links.
Looking past Liverpool and just in general, looking towards this end of the season, at this point, considering how we've done so far, how would you say Roy has done as a manager, taking over from Frank de Boer, and will we stay up under him?
I reckon we'll definitely stay up. Just a quick shout out to Roy on that game. I don't know if you guys heard it on when you're watching the game, but we were like, well, there's only one Roy Hodgson, and then you see he sort of turned to the crowd, started clapping to us, and it was like, deep down he knows that we appreciate what he's doing, and I hope that makes him just, not that he needs any more like support, but I hope he knows that we sort of appreciate what he's done. From obviously when Frank was here, it wasn't going too well, and I mean, I was never convinced that Frank would have turned it around, but it would be nice in an alternate dimension to see if Frank stayed at this moment. Would we be West Brom, or would we be further up the table? Or, I mean, you could never really say, but it didn't really look like it was going to get any better. But yeah, I mean, what can you say coming in from the start that we had to now? We're 16th. We're not safe just yet, but I can't see us. I said it to people at work. We had that. Don't know if you guys saw that thing that Alex sent from another Palace forum with like all the last games for the bottom 6, and I analysed that and I said, look, if we lose against Huddersfield, we're in big trouble, and I can see us going down. But if we beat Huddersfield,
well, we've had under
of us going down.
all of it's under Roy. Actually, we've had 30 points from 24 games, which is across the whole season, which is what, 45, 46, something like that. You do the maths, which is mid-table obscurity. And when was the last time we had mid-table obscurity? It'd been what, 11, 12, was it? What we do for mid-table obscurity, a season mid-table obscurity, that is pretty much Roy has given us. Obviously, you take away the first 7 games, which were a write-off, and we're in a relegation fight. But really, he has made us a mid-table team. We do play like one, and we get results of a mid-table team.
There have been rumours, obviously, with Benteke's perform of him going to China. The current price is touted to be around about 20 million. Do you think he should go to China? And is that price good enough considering what we paid for him, Jensen?
Yes, I mean, because we paid 30 million for him. Sure, we're losing 10 million, but he's taking up a huge amount on the wages, 120k a week, something like that, which is insane. I mean, that's the same as Harry Kane. Somebody wants to confirm that, but either way, he's being paid a ridiculous amount of money. We could easily get him off the books, and the 20 million. Obviously, it's a transfer fee, but it's also what we're not paying in wages, because I suspect Zorloff is on a lot less than 120k. We could get somebody to replace Benteke for a lot less than 120k a week. So, yeah, we're losing 10 million, but he has given us, 20 goals, which is not as many as we'd hoped for over 2 seasons, but it's 20 goals, and his goals were a big part of keeping us up last year. So, sure, take it.
I think the thing with Benteke is, like, for me anyway, this season is I'm always just waiting for him to start playing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm waiting for him to score and then just keep scoring, and you think, thank God we never let him go. But it's to the stage now where I sort of 100% agree with you. Like, I mean, it'd be maybe a little bit of a pity to see him go, seeing as he's been okay in terms of holding the ball and stuff. It's just the finishing, the end product, which is not there. But yeah, I wouldn't mind him going at all.
No, me neither.
No, I think I think to both of your points, for a £30 million hold-up player, it's an insane amount of money that we're paying him. And if we can cash in before he gets too old, then yeah, by all means, let China, anywhere that wants to take him, somewhere like Russia, I think he'd suit their game, because he's fairly roughy-tufty despite falling over, being touched on the shoulder on Saturday. I'd love him to come good, and if he's able in the last few games of the season to start scoring, and I'm happy to consider the assists and things that he got through January and February, but we've bought him to score goals, and when he's in front of goal, he's missing. Yeah, it's good that he's creating, but those chances that he gets in front of goal, he has to finish, and he has to finish at a standard that is a Premier League standard. So that's a 1 in 2 or 1 in 3 XG conversion rate. And at the moment, he's got a high level of XG and a really low level of goals, which is, he's not good enough. And whether that's a mental thing or a physical thing, we need to offload someone that isn't performing. And I bored everyone earlier talking about his Belgium squad issues. So, while we can cash in X, and if he wants to stay and score more, great. But I'm sure he wouldn't be staying and scoring more if we did get relegated. So I'd be happy for him to stay up or go down.
Of course, we now need to go on to our other relegation candidates. It was a good game week for us, with West Bromwich Albion losing, Stoke losing, and Watford losing. How do you think the table's looking now going into the final few games? D-Stock.
For me, I think it was a good weekend for us, and that's fortunate. But whilst our destiny is still in our own hands, I want to see us. We've all just talked about attacking Liverpool, but you have to assume that the other teams are going to be getting a point a week or 3 points a week. And I think if you look at the results on Saturday, we were fortunate that they went our way. Bournemouth scored a late goal that was a really nice free kick to take points off. Was it Stoke? And then No, that wasn't Stoke because Charlie had him destroyed when we were in his legs. That wasn't that
It
game.
was West Brom that they played.
Thank you. And yeah, so I think in those situations, while you can control your own destiny, I think that's what we should be focused on, which is where I'm happy for us to try and get 3 points against Liverpool, because I think our chance of trying to hold out for 90 minutes and get one is so slim, because we can keep our average by just winning the next game after Liverpool, and we've won the one before it. So as long as we're winning enough to keep the average up, then yeah, I think we're going to be fine. My problem is those teams that we were talking about earlier. So Huddersfield are on a slide. There are other teams in there, like Saint just got through to the semi-finals of the FA Cup. A lot of those Saints players now are going to be pulling out challenges in those weeks before the semi-final. Hopefully that goes in our favour.
And don't forget, of course, West Ham are currently busy imploding in the most gloriously entertaining fashion.
Yeah, I was going to say West Ham and Huddersfield would be my two, with West Brom to go down if I could. Somehow, I think Brighton have got too many points to go down now. But yeah, if we could somehow have West Brom, West Ham, and Brighton, that would be perfect. But I'll take Huddersfield as consolation if that can't happen.
Speaking of teams being relegated, do you have any predictions on who will be relegated, Jensen?
I'm going to make a big bold claim here and say West Brom are probably going down. I think they're. I know it's a controversial opinion, but so West Brom, Stoke. I mean, they just don't look like they have enough. They haven't got the right manager, I think, to keep them up, and I just can't see how they're going to get to 37, 38, whatever you feel is needed. And then I really can see West Ham going down. I not just because of the fans are doing what West Ham fans do, but just there's
being tosspots.
Being tosspots. Well, but they've also got quite a few injuries. Not as many as us, of course. Nobody can beat us on the injury count. But they've got a fair few injuries that players don't look. Apart from Mark Noble, who, by the way, I have a lot of respect for. I think what he's done for the club is fantastic. But apart from Mark Noble, there's no one there who really seems to have any passion or desire. And I just don't see the fight in West Ham to stay up. Southampton are too good to go down, and I do think Mark Hughes is actually good at appointment. He will fire them up. The talent is there. I mean, someone like Lamina today, he was excellent against Wigan. Yes, it's League One team, but players like that are good enough to keep you in the Premier League, even if it's just 17th. And with someone like Mark Hughes, he will get the talent out. Obviously, he's not going to inspire you to 8th and an FA Cup win or whatever, but he will keep Southampton up. So I think it'll be West Brom, West Ham, and Stoke.
I'd pretty much agree with that, to be fair. I definitely, obviously, I'm going to go on the crazy one and say that West Brom are probably going to go down as well. Stoke just seemed like one of them teams that shouldn't go down, but it does kind of look like they will go down. So I'm going to say that the bottom of the table will stay as it is, apart from the third from bottom, which I wouldn't like to see Huddersfield go down, because even like yesterday, everyone was just so bloody nice. Like, we're speaking to Huddersfield fans like on the way back to the Spoons, and they were like directing us and stuff. And even at the train station, everyone was so helpful. And even before the game, we was joking with, I think, about 5 older Huddersfield fans, and everyone was just so nice. So based on that,
but most Northerners are actually friendly, aren't they?
Yeah, based on that, I wouldn't really. Except not the Scousers, though. When I was in Liverpool, we was getting shouted out the windows like, "Oh, you're shit, you're going down," and this, like, and that's when we beat them 2-1 last season. So that was good coming out of that one.
And I'd like to see Huddersfield step, because they're a club who do things. Obviously, there's no right way in football, but the season ticket is what, £200 up there or something like that, and which is like half of the annual earnings of someone who lives in Huddersfield. So they do things right, and I bear no bad grudge to them. Love to see Brighton go down. That'd be amazing. Can't see it happening, but
they've got crazy bad. I think Brighton they can only really rely on beating us and Huddersfield. The rest of their games are actually kind of hard. So,
and if they lose out from here, and they finish on, are they 36 or 34 at the moment?
34.
34.
34. If they lose out, they're going down. But yeah, it's I can see them winning 1, maybe 2 more games. without too much trouble. They'll get a fluky win against a big team. That's always the way it works. So they will be fine, but I'd love to see them go down from here.
I do think Huddersfield are the team going down, and then I think for me it's probably one of maybe Saints or Stoke, because I think for me, Paul Lambert is maybe not the right man. I'm less confident in Mark Hughes. Mark Hughes is notorious for his slow starts to seasons. I'm not sure how he's going to go in and turn Southampton around quickly, particularly given that the team he left are below them. I think for me you're looking at Swansea, Huddersfield, and West Ham, and I think Huddersfield have got the hardest games. West Ham probably their own worst enemies, and Swansea, it kind of just depends if they can keep that little run of form going. So for me, I think I'm going to go with Stoke, West Brom, and Huddersfield.
One other factor to take into account is goal difference. In looking at Stoke and -29, Southampton -15, Huddersfield -27. That's an extra point for Southampton essentially. So
yeah.
Let's see where you're coming from, the Huddersfield and Stoke thing. Absolutely.
I actually think if they'd have kept with Pellegrini, they'd have stayed up, because they weren't great, but they were one of those dog shit teams that finishes 15, 16, 17 every year, just grinding out draws and the occasional win. And that's not sexy enough for Southampton, but that does inevitably keep you up.
And to think we wanted Pellegrini instead of Frank de Boer at the start of the season.
Yeah, and I still kind of think that if you took our players and played, because Southampton, they just got progressively more conservative over the season, and they want to play sexy passing football. We don't give as much of a shit about that. We just want to give the ball to Wilf and Townsend and have them run either at the goal or towards the corner flag. And I think as well, if you looked at Southampton, their injury list with Charlie Austin, and at the start of the season, what's his name? Manolo, Italian man.
Gabbiadini.
Thank you.
Who scored 4 in the 34. He scored 10 in the first 11 or something like that, but since then he's done absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I think is, they've had a Benteke moment with him, and then Austin.
Without paying 30 million in their defence.
Well, how much was Gabbiadini? He wasn't cheap, was he?
Quickly, Google.
That's a good question.
Yeah, exactly. Here we go. Manolo Gabbiadini.
I think he was.
He's a funny looking fuck as well.
14 million or 15 million, depending on the source. So either way, you could literally get 2 of him for 1 Benteke.
Yeah, okay. I would rather have 2 of him than 1 Benteke. But having said that, Benteke has scored more goals than him.
Barely.
Not this season. I just mean, it in the shirt of the club he's wearing. So
yeah, that's true.
I do hope Conte gets sacked, because I'd like Conte to Palace. Apparently, he enjoys living in London, so I'm sure he's not looking at the Arsenal job.
I think that about wraps it up for today. Thank you all for joining me. But before we go, we have 2 shout-outs to make. The first is to the Amazon affiliate link in the description of the podcast. If you check that out, you can help support the pod and help keep us running for the future. The next is to those with absolutely amazing, well, I say amazing, Photoshop skills on the subreddit, having done quality work for the sub. That would be you, Jack Mart, and you / non-suspended account on the Reddit, having some amazing posts celebrating both the win and just Palace life in general.
Just celebrating Palace, really.
Yes. Jimmy B would want to make a shout out, so I will hand you over to him.
Yeah, just a quick shout out to my sister, who is a big fan of the SE25 cast. She's training for the London Marathon, and she listens to these while she's running. So if you listen to this,
does that make it go fast or slow?
If you're listening to this, jog on, mate.
Faster.
Well, thank you all for joining us. We will see you in the next pod. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Yeah.